Well, good afternoon. I have another series of readings for you for over the next 6 weeks or so. My joke for the day is this. A teenage girl says to her dad, "Dad, I heard you were voted Dentist of the Year." And the dad says, "Yes, they gave me a little plaque." They gave me a little plaque. Some people should just be shot, you know that? And God's little instruction book today says, "A pint of example is worth a barrelful of advice." Philippians 3:17 says, "Brothers and sisters, join in following my example and observe those who walk according to the pattern that you have in us." That's the truth. Way too many people telling way too many people what to do and how to do it and what to believe and what not to believe. It's just awful. Here we go. Your people Israel consists of many communities, and that's from the Shabbat liturgy. The second paragraph of the Shabbat liturgy, and what that is in a Jewish worship service on Friday night, they have a Shabbat service, and they have 4 paragraphs that they read, and those 4 paragraphs are the same every week. Well, in the second paragraph of that liturgy, begins with the above phrase, "Your people Israel consists of many communities." They're not like other communities. No one can point to anything specific and say this is the final version of Jewish law and lore, because it's not. There is no such thing as the final version. It's always changing, it's always evolving, assuming new forms and shapes and changes, new traditions. In some congregations on Saturday mornings, you have as many as 7 different services, one after the other, and some of those services may only have 4 or 5 people in it, but they're trying to find a new expression for themselves. It's called an alternative way. And in the more liberal Protestant Jewish services, they're practicing that. In fact, our sages teach us that the Shema, which is the most sacred prayer, can be recited in any human dialect or language. Shema Yisrael, the Lord our God, the Lord is one, and you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, strength, soul, and mind. That's the Shema. If, for example, I'm completely unfamiliar with Hebrew, and if you decide to recite the Shema in English, which I just did for you, it is still accepted by God. If there's such a thing as Jewish heresy, it would be the notion that whatever is new is forbidden by the Torah. And I'm going to add outside this thing that a lot of Christians think that Judaism has not changed in 3,000 years, and it's simply not so. Simply not so. Now, you might ask, if such diversity is legitimate, how can we point and say, well, this is the core of Jewish belief? How can we do that? And a man named Edmund Flegg once said, I'm a Jew, and the essence of Jewish belief and practice is whatever fills you with God. There have been others, the Orthodox movement, the conservative movement, the Reform movement, and now the Reconstructionist movement, all, in my eyes, seems our belief and practice is our own personal choosing. Can I add, there are 237 different branches of Protestantism in our world. So it shouldn't strike you as odd that there's 4 or 5 or 6 different branches of Judaism. There's at least 6 different forms of Roman Catholicism. Here we go. Back to text. After all, the text tells me that God placed something of himself in me and in the first human, and it's something which identifies me as a living being. I therefore feel I must tune into something to find what my tradition means to me. In other words, I must find my own religious tradition and modify it as I need to make me be close to, help me be close to God. Hope this wasn't too heavy today. Let's be at prayer. Oh God, our God, we ask for your grace this day. Help us to understand that if we believe one thing and over a period of time that thing changes, that's not necessarily bad. We ask this in Jesus' name and the Spirit's grace. Amen. Go in peace and go in God.